They say they're going to have a mass deportation. Trump uses the word remigration a lot now. It's quite something, and he's putting together an army to do it here. Take a look at that army today in the heart of Los Angeles, in a large park called MacArthur Park. It looks lovely, the park online, at least back when LA was a safe, prosperous, entrepreneurial city, the city of the future, before its great decline. I mean, look at this. That's a photo from about 100 years ago. And here's a postcard from around the same time. I mean, LA looks like something very different in the past. So anyways, the reality of MacArthur Park today is, well, let me read to you from an LA Times story, and here's the headline: Attacks on transgender women expose MS-13 gang's grip on MacArthur Park. That is quite a headline. Let me read you the first paragraph. It's almost unbelievable. So this is from 2021, so in Biden's term, when Trump's revival was regarded as an impossibility. This what was the status quo in LA. This is what was normal. Remember, LA is a sanctuary city. Night settled on a woman sitting alone on a bench in MacArthur Park. 3 people moved toward her. One locked an arm around the woman's throat as the others pulled out knives and began to stab her. The attack in October marked the second time in weeks that a transgender woman had been stabbed nearly to death in the Los Angeles park by members of MS-13, a street gang that considers the park the heart of its territory. The vicious assaults drew condemnation from advocacy groups and a heavy police presence to the park as a straightforward narrative emerged. MS-13 had been motivated by a hateful, bigoted desire to rid its turf of transgender people. Left unmentioned, however, were the tangled underworld economics that brought the women and the gang into contact in the first place. Now, of course, you just have to understand the LA Times, when they're saying women there, they mean a man who is expressing himself as a woman. But if I'm trying to understand that, gang members, foreign gang members, had human trafficked transgender prostitutes into the park for prostitution to make money. But MS-13, they are a brutal gang, and they also hate them because they're trans. I mean, it is a mess. And that was just how LA is. Here's a video of it during the daytime. It reminds me of other places. I've been to the Tenderloin District in San Francisco. A lot of people on drugs, a lot of crime. It's just a failed state. It's not the California that the world fell in love with 50 years ago. Now, this whole thing poses a moral dilemma for the left, don't they? Because they love trans people, they love sex workers, they love migration, they love MS-13. So it's tough for them to criticize any of those groups. But Trump, not so much. So take a look at this. This is what happened today. They look like military, but I don't think they're actual military. I don't think they're National Guard. I think they're police, just dressed up in their most terrifying garb. And those are riot horses, of course, and you can hear a helicopter in the background. Here's another shot where you can see they are marked as police. You can see some of the inhabitants of the park gathering. Here's another shot, which appears to be sped up, of the police. This is from Karen Bass, the communist mayor of LA. Now, my theory is that the police are decked out that way to intimidate, not actually the people they're going to try and arrest in the park, but would-be rioters who might think they would rush down to the park to fight the police. So they did a few weeks ago. I don't know if you saw those riots in LA. So I think this police enforcement is looking like they could repulse even a huge riot, and I think that's what it's about. I think it's about deterrence. It's just my theory. The folks who showed up to protest were typically, wearing COVID masks and looking pretty anemic. They didn't really look like they would be much of a battle, to be honest. Now, I didn't actually see any photos or videos of any arrests. I'm guessing that most people who would have been deported would have fled the scene unless they were very drugged out or something, or just clueless. Again, I think this might be for optics reasons. I think the police actually had their own cameraman with them filming it. Here's some still photos of the cops taken by a reporter, Bill Malugan. Very interesting. So you can see they're marked as cops. Now, the mayor rushed down to the park for the cameras too. Very different from her response a few months ago when a wealthy neighborhood in LA burned in a fire, huge fire. More than 1,000 homes burned. She chose to go to Ghana, Africa instead. But today she was right there moments later as the boss of a sanctuary city, and she demanded to speak to the head of the cops. So a cop lent her his cell phone and let her call his boss. And here's how that went.
Mayor Bass, can you at least explain your purpose to being here? They kind of let us loose when police just go. Feel free to go somewhere. What's going on?
What are they really doing inside the park?
Oh, I like him. Hey, I take back what I said to your boys over there, all right?
Here's the tail end of that cell phone conversation.
I am going to say.
Mayor Bass, I need to get my phone and we're departing.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor Bass.
Mayor Bass.
Oh my
Any
God.
comment, Mayor Bass?
Thank you.
Mayor Bass, any comment?
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
Just wait and see.
Mayor Bass,
They will be leaving soon.
Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone?
They have customs.
Wow.
So Mayor Bass says she thinks the police need to leave right away. Okay, I get it. She's anti-cop, always has been. Weirdly anti-fireman too, which was a bit of a problem during the fires, but at least she wasn't doing her best to get herself arrested like a Democrat senator from California did the other day, storming into a press conference by Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Minister. Here's how that went.
Hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
hands up.
how many of our ICE agents have been shot.
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go and stand behind my back.
All right.
Cool. Other hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording loud out here.
I think the Democrats want to be arrested, maybe even shot. They don't want to be killed, but I think they want a little bit of action. They want the drama. They want the crisis. They want the chaos. They want to kick off riots. Here's Zoran Mamdani, likely the next mayor of New York City, doing the same thing, doing his best to get arrested. This was just a couple weeks ago. They all know this is the most important battle they can have. It's now or never for them. Before, under Joe Biden, the phrase demographics is destiny meant that the other side, the Democrats, just had to wait. The longer things went on, the more the migrants would just change the country. In Constantinople, it was an invasion with cannons. In California, it was an invasion too, just not really with weapons. They just walked across the border. I don't think the migrants wanted to be called an invasion because that might attract too much attention. But Trump stopped the influx, and now he's working on the reflux, isn't he? And everyone knows that's a disaster for the Democrats. Everyone knows it. It's so obvious. It's clear the left, I'm going to pause for a second. The only migrants I have seen in the last 20 years that the Democrats do not like, well, I don't know if you saw, but a few weeks ago, the U.S. invited in, I think, 58 refugees from South Africa who were the white Dutch farmers called the Boers, who are being targeted because they're white by the South African government. So like 50 or 60 Boers were farmers, came to America to farm, and that's what they do, they're farmers. The Democrats were universally against that. Well, because obviously they would be rightward-leaning farmers and migrants. So the only time I've ever seen Democrats against migrants, because they know that the rest of them are going to vote Democrat anyways. It's clear that the left wants their moment, you know what I mean? They want a George Floyd moment, maybe of police going too far or appearing to go too far. You could call it the Hamas strategy, really, the worse, the better, as communists say. They really want the government to hurt a child or something. They want to recast what's going on. But I think the opposite is happening. I think that the old California is waking up again and remembering what it could be like without the failed state overlords and their mass immigration troubles. I see online some people are tweeting images of what they say are traffic apps in Los Angeles showing no traffic jams for the first time in memory. Now, some people are ascribing that to mass deportations. I'm a little bit skeptical. I don't think the numbers are that big yet. LA County has 10 million people in it. I think you'd need, I don't know, hundreds of thousands gone before you would notice, reliefs in traffic. But maybe it is that much. I mean, Trump's administration claims that 1 million people have self-deported just on the threat of muscular deportation. If you can believe it, and tens of thousands more being targeted, starting with the worst of the worst, who have been in some ways sent to the terrorist prison in El Salvador, and now comes Florida's alligator Alcatraz prison too. So Trump is leaning into this. I say again, I think the cameras accompanying the cops were from ICE itself. I think Trump isn't being shy about this. He's being the opposite of shy. If there's going to be any war in Trump's term, that's his. It's not going to be Ukraine or Syria or Iran. It's going to be a war, hopefully with no bullet shot, to take back America from the invader. That's a fight he wants, and he knows he can win, and it will have the support of most Americans. It's going to be very interesting, isn't it?